TLO and Cyril are gone. Drogo and Violet move on. We are going to the third quarterfinal. Another one player is going to go to the semifinals. Another one will be eliminated. This time it's going to be Germany versus the Netherlands in a Protoss versus Terran. Welcome back, everybody, to the DreamHack Open here live in Leipzig as we get closer and closer to the semifinals, which will be happening in the next couple of hours. Looking forward to it. We've had a lot of fun over the last couple of days, but here we are closer to the final day where the grand finals will be played out tomorrow. Joining me on the desk, we have Todd, Nathanius, and now Rossi.
Let's find out if StarCraft is balanced or not. We've got two Zergs guaranteeing in the semi. Already a Protoss has made it, and now if a Terran makes it, it's
perfect.
As best as you get.
Yeah.
Right?
It is pretty much as perfect as it could ever get. If it would be 2-1-1.
Nathanius is very excited to see uThermal play.
Oh yeah. I'm very interested to see how well his weird builds work against ShoWTimE. Because I honestly, Hearthstone fell apart really badly last night in the match against uThermal. Like it didn't look like it was like a grapple, you know, where like uThermal went for something weird and Hearthstone was like barely trying to defend it. It was like uThermal basically just like stabbed him and he fell over and it was over. You know, like that was the series last night. So I'm expecting ShoWTimE to put up a much better fight than Hearthstone did. And for that reason alone, I'm not really sure like where to put this match because I didn't think uThermal was going to win versus Hearthstone either, and then that happened. So.
This is going to be a very different series for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. We can check in with the bracket if you're just tuning in for the very first time. Welcome. You've missed a lot of action, and it has been really fun, but this is the most important part of the tournament as we get closer and closer towards the end. Drogo and Violet are our two guaranteed semi-finalists. Two more to go. ShoWTimE versus uThermal then, Kev. ShoWTimE, top 4 last DreamHack, DreamHack Winter in the Legacy of the Void Championship. He also then went on to get another, good performance, top 8 at Home Story Cup. Another top 8 because he's here. He's continuing to perform and he really is becoming, if not already is, the best Protoss in Europe.
Nah, he's starting to look very solid. It's not that one-time spike performance anymore. He's just doing it back-to-back events now. And also the way that he's doing it. If you look at this bracket, like, this was not an easy bracket. He took out Marine Lord in the round of 32, arguably the hottest player in Europe at the moment. Took out Lilbao in the round of 16, and some people are kind of looking at Lilbao right now as almost like a pushover. Like, no, it's still Lilbao. He's still extremely good and very, very dangerous. So what ShoWTimE is doing is extremely impressive, but I think at the end of the day, people don't really remember the top 4, the top 8 like we do, because it's our job to bring that up. But at the end of the day, people look at the finalist or somebody who lifts the trophy, and that is something that we're still waiting for, but this could very well be the weekend.
uThermal, though. I mean, you've already said it. He had an easier time against Hearthstone last night. Or Hearthstone, whether he was tired, just wasn't performing very well after a long day of StarCraft. Today's obviously going to be a very different day for uThermal, but he has a very unique style, which is managing to catch Protoss off guard a little bit.
But not even catch them off guard, just throw them off their game. I've played so many ladder games against uThermal. I know what his build is. I still get crushed every single game. I spoke to Hearthstone yesterday. I was like, do you know what uThermal plays like? He was like, yeah, I'm pretty confident. 0-3 in some pretty quick games. Like, it seems like even though you know what he's going to go for, it's just so hard to counter because he pulls it off very nicely, and he's the only Terran that really plays like this. It makes it so difficult to come with the right conclusions as to what to do. If there is one guy, though, that would be up for the job, it's definitely ShoWTimE, I think.
I mean, how would you approach the series? I mean, uThermal, as he said yesterday, if you're just kind of tuning in now, is that he says, I stream all my games. If you want to watch me play, watch me play. I don't.
It's a great stream as well, by the way. I learn a lot from it.
Terran school, after all. Nathanius, the casual over here, apparently should check in.
Other streams.
But I mean, how do you? I mean,
I think defense. Like, he likes to hit that timing with Marines and Cyclones at first. So get enough pylons, get 3 gate stalkers, make sure you defend that. And then down the line, you know that Liberators are going to start on flying into your mineral lines very quickly behind this. So make sure you have stalkers in position, dedicate your Mothership Core with some pylons to defending one of your bases with some well-placed pylons. And if you defend very well at first, you don't take any damage or you minimize the damage that you take early on, you're going to be in a great position going further into the game, I think.
Nate, you are one with the Twitch chat. You are one with the Twitch streams. What is so good about uThermal and what he does? You obviously watch his stream, you tune in, you host him. What do you think?
I think one of the main interesting things about uThermal is, obviously he's very good at this aggressive play, but it seems like a lot of his opponents don't really give enough respect to him. He doesn't have the big accomplishments, to be honest. Like, we talk him up, we know he's one of the better players in Holland, but he's not that guy that's gotten all these big results. He's that dude you play on ladder and you're like, okay, I know he's gonna do something kind of cheesy. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but now it's in that awkward spot where you're like, okay, he's actually here really deep in the tournament. And I honestly feel like the key to success here for ShoWTimE is to just not dismiss him as, okay, this guy really isn't top tier Europe. I can just do my normal thing and beat him.
I think it's very important to mention as well that even though he plays a tiny bit different in TVP, that doesn't mean that he has to win his games in 8 minutes or something. uThermal has sick macro, sick micro, and sick multitasking. He's a very well all-rounded player. What he's basically telling us yesterday is he just doesn't want to give Protoss the comfort of just letting every game go the same way and giving them the place where they're so familiar with, that massive economy. Just because he's trying to prevent that scenario, that doesn't mean that he has to play like that. He's actually a very good all-around player. He can do much more than being that weird unorthodox Terran. Like, he's actually legit.
And this is actually the reason he does so well, because Protosses, they're so used of Terran just only trying to defend that whenever a Terran attacks, we're like, oh my god, what is happening? Like, just look at
hey, go back to your base, man. Like, go back.
This is not supposed to be how it goes, and then you start losing units and it snowballs out of control. Whereas I feel like if you adjust to his style and you start on defending and you defend convincingly early on against him, you're going to be in a great position going into the mid-game, later stages of the game.
And I feel like it's really important to mention, especially on the same kind of line of thought you guys are both just going towards. It's just the way that TVP normally plays out now is Terran has a really strong late game. Before you hit the Tempest phase, like, Terran is really powerful versus Protoss once you get Liberators and have that third and you're going for your fourth. Like, it is so hard for Protoss to beat Terran in those positions. Like, uThermal's strategy doesn't have to be about killing you, but if he doesn't go into that mid game behind like most Terrans do, where the Protoss has their third mining, and then you've got the Stalkers out on the map or the War Prism that's keeping you from getting your third. If uThermal doesn't get pigeonholed into that phase where the Protoss has that economic lead, I think he's going to be in a really good spot to get to that very powerful TVP late game.
I feel like Stargate is not the way. Too many people have tried Stargate against him, because if you get Stargate, you are going to have so little on the ground to defend his initial push, and he gets turrets on time back at home. So I feel like
Blink
something,
Stalkers,
or even
defensive
open
Blink
3
Stalkers.
gates and then get Blink. Don't try to get to Blink too quickly.
Think about the way that Hawk played against Marino. I'm pretty damn sure if you bust out a style like that against uThermal, you're going to be in a good position.
That was so strong.
I think there's one more thing very important to mention going in this series. ShoWTimE is also a very smart Protoss. He's not someone who's afraid to just adapt to his opponent's playstyle, and he is not the guy that's going to go for a 1-gate fast expand followed up by a Robo on Arena. Like, ShoWTimE is not that guy. He really reads well into his opponent. He reads well into the map. So this is going to be a harder series for uThermal.
His games against Marilord were actually super convincing, I thought, ShoWTimE.
I didn't see them because we were up here. I saw the end of Laralek, but I saw a lot of adapts.
That was he's very smart. He made a lot of adapts. He made some DTs.
That's what I said. He adapts very well.
All right. Well, thanks for the discussion on this. Well, let's go towards predictions then. Rotty, let's begin with you. Which way? I mean, you got your Dutch brother.
Like, I've made too many predictions this tournament with my heart rather than with my mind.
Like, use this.
If I would have like an even bet, I would go with ShoWTimE. But I do think it's going to be a close, very fun series. But yeah, I would go with ShoWTimE.
But I hope for uThermal.
Yeah, of course. I want the Terran in the top 4. That would be awesome, and that also means that Nate won't cry tonight, so that's great. And B, he's Dutch. No.
Even if uThermal wins this thing, Nate will still cry.
He can come in first place, and I'll just be sad that they'll delay the buff again.
Situation for you and all your Terran friends out there.
uThermal, you know what you need to do to save Terran.
Take one for the team, buddy.
Todd?
I'm going to go for uThermal. After somebody beats me like 15 times in a row and I can't win a map against him usually, even though like ShoWTimE equally does that, it's in PvP. So I guess uThermal, I think his style is just so sick and it's really hard to counter. It's going to be a 3-2 though. And Drogo then will beat uThermal.
Okay. Keep your bias at a minimal now, Nathan. Where's this going? I know the instinct is straight to say Protoss, but
I think ShoWTimE is just going to play way better than HearthStone did yesterday. Okay. And I expect him to show us in this series, because I feel like ShoWTimE's a smart enough guy that he probably went through, watched all those VODs. I think he's just going to come out with some openers that just completely shut down this early aggression. And I expect ShoWTimE to stomp his face in.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, boys. We are going to go to a very quick video and a bit of an interview like we've had with some of the other players. This time, it's with ShoWTimE.
I think I'm pretty satisfied with my play today. I was a little tired like towards the last series, but overall I made like some small mistakes, but I think I played pretty well. Yeah, so I had 2 team kills, unfortunately, so that was a bit sad, even though I won, like happy and sad at the same time. My first series against Marine Lord was really tough. Like I was behind 1-2 and was close to losing it. Then I pulled it back and yeah, it was a really tough series. Against Libo, it was a bit of a messy series, I guess. Yeah, it was pretty messy. There haven't been a whole lot of events in Germany besides like the Home Story Cup. So it's really nice to be like just an event and talk to fans in German. And yeah, it's like a nice bonus to do well here.
The German player ShoWTimE standing up against the last Terran remaining here. If he wins, he'll go on to face PT Drogo. It's going to be, I think, a very interesting series, but I think that uThermal's got a lot of flash and a lot of flair to this style, but I don't think it's something that you're going to be able to consistently crush with when people are looking at you this closely.
No, but once again, he doesn't have to win early. He doesn't have to be crazy. I still believe in his multitasking abilities, and I think that uThermal has great micro. We see those clicks, Nate, as we are hopping into Prime Terraces for the first map of this awesome quarterfinal between this man, the Dutch Terran, representing AT Gaming, spawning on the south side of the map. It is uThermal. And we saw those clicks, Nate.
Oh, yeah. He's sending out his SCV for nefarious purposes against this Blue Protoss in the northwest. The German Tossie ShoWTimE. Interested to see how he does this. There are quite a few different ways you can kind of mess around with proxies. I don't do too many of these myself, but uThermal seems like the kind of guy that you should think about it as being a distinct possibility.
And I love how you said, I think that, like, uThermal has a lot of flair to it and stuff. I was about to say, I think this is going to be a very explosive series. And before I was even able to say that, we saw the first clicks already on the top side of the map. And that's the right way to set the tone for the rest of the series, man. It's going to be a very early Reaper here by uThermal. Curious to see how much he will be able to do with it. I think on average, Nate, if you can get 3 probes, I think that's all right, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I'd say 3 is good. Like 2 is kind of questionable, and 1 I don't think you're too happy with, but if you can get 3, that's a solid start for a Terran player.
And it seems like he wants to commit to a really heavy type of aggression beyond this because he's gone for the really fast second refinery. I love that ShoWTimE's not playing this like it's a normal PvT. He's not just going to take a Nexus right before he gets this core. He gets the core first, he'll have his mothership core out faster, he can get a stalker out faster. And with the second gas from uThermal, yeah, I'm expecting a factory.
Is he going to do your build, Nate? Is he going to do the build that you love more than any other build in the world right now? Oh my god, this is so sick. I've lost to this.
Whoa.
This is so sick. This is a Ghost Rush. I've actually lost against this. A friend did this.
I watched you lose against
this. Yeah. if you like make a Twilight or a Stargate before you make a Robo, you're almost dead. This is ridiculous. Like, these goals, they're going to be able to do so much damage. This is really sick. What an opening here by uThermal.
I believe this is, like, I had a few ideas. I figured he'd do, like, the Proxy Reaper into Cyclone Pressure, which a couple people have done. Yeah. But this is like a whole different flavor of cheese in and of itself. I don't know which cheese to pick for this one, Kev.
It's very sick. I mean, they're gonna have cloak goes incredibly quick. So the most important thing here for ShoWTimE is that he doesn't try to blind counter whatever he thinks is coming. Don't drop a Twilight, don't drop a Stargate. He needs a Robo. I mean, Stargate is maybe not the end of the world because he'll get some sort of detection, but these goals are actually going to hit very, very quickly. I do think it's weird that the barracks is so close, by the way, because he might be able to spot the tech lab, no?
I mean...
No, he didn't yet.
He hasn't seen it yet.
Okay,
that is really important, though, to try to get an idea of what it would be. But...
Because normally you expect the second Reaper, but I was like, hey, why didn't I lose any probes? You know, my opponent
hasn't started the Robo yet, and Cloak is halfway done. So the Ghost is going to come out with 75 energy. By the time Cloak's ready, he'll be close to 100.
Yeah. Of course, this is a very, very big commitment for uThermal, and he needs to do way more than kill a couple of probes. This is a 1-base Terran against a 2-base Protoss. Even killing 8 probes is not enough. He needs to completely... Stargate is actually the tech building of choice, and Revelation is not that good anymore. It's like Envision used to be 100,000 times better than it currently is. This is not a great detection spell. I think this is awesome for uThermal.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be able to run 2 Ghosts in case you guys didn't know, 2 Ghosts will kill a probe in a single attack. So He could just walk in and he's just going to start
so sick.
He's going to be bang, bang, one tapping
Yeah.
probes left and right.
The most important thing, no, go for it. The most important thing, I think, okay, there it is. Cloak is ready. You gotta go for it. Go. Okay, the most important thing is that that one Oracle doesn't tag both goals at the same time. You do not want to let both goals get tagged, but this is extremely sick. I still think he needs to drop a Robo like right now, because just Oracles are really not that great of a detection.
Yeah,
What a
and
sick opening.
if he splits up the ghosts and he doesn't get the revelation on the one with the most energy, like he's just taking a pummeling here. 11
This is
probes
sick.
picked off. Talk about this is just some wild cheddar.
Yeah, like I've lost it as well. My friend Aggression from Denmark did this against me, and I was like, man, if you don't scout this is really, really hard to deal with. Well, what a great side. I mean, how many works we're looking at? 18
Yeah,
probes.
there's a third ghost.
Just split up the ghosts. Just don't
Oh
let them
my
get
God.
tagged at the same time by the same Oracle, and I think this is a default win. What a start by uThermal, Nate.
Yeah, that's just dirty.
Split them up, split them up.
This is just pure evil. This build is came out of a dark place.
See, he tagged one, but he didn't tag the
45
other one.
probes.
There's like gonna be like 7 probes remaining. More ghosts will start pouring in. There's a Cyclone on the follow-up as well.
My
You love that.
God. Oh my God.
GG! uThermal takes game number 1 on Brian Terraces with a cloaked ghost rush.
Does this venue have a shower? Because I feel filthy after watching that game. Wow.
I think if we send this replay to Husky StarCraft, he might come back and do another Bronze League Heroes episode for us.
You'd think it looks like a Bronze League game with how easy he made that look.
Awesome.
I can't believe he actually did that.
It's so cool. I mean, this is one of these builds, right? If your opponent opens up with a very quick Robo, I don't think it does a whole lot. If the Observer is in place, you know, yeah, you might get a couple probe kills before the Observer pops, but the new Oracle detection is just not the same as in Heart of the Swarm. Heart of the Swarm and Vision was very good.
We haven't, I mean, the last time I saw a super fast ghost play like this was like in like the early Archon tournaments in the beta. That was like Beastie QXC doing it on like Bridgehead or something. And that's just so...
It's so funny because when I died to this, it was on this exact map as well. And I actually dropped the Twilight before the Robo, and I was like, man, I'm losing a lot of probes over here. Like, I did survive with a couple, but I was like, this is actually really good. Like, you really need to scout this. And of course, in the end, this all comes down to the scouting as well of ShoWTimE. You know, you can look at this game very critical, and sure, some people on Team Liquid and Reddit doing this right now. Like, well, you know, he only saw one Reaper. Like, what else could it be? You know, like, he should have been seeing the Tech Lab. He should have been looking for, you know, the Ghost Academy. But that's easier said than done. You know, most of the time, you don't want to be caught out of position against 2-3 Reapers or whatever.
Even just watching this, I expected him, instead of building a Ghost Academy, to just build a factory right there, lift the barracks, then you have your Reaper poked, and the Cyclone follows up, and suddenly life gets really difficult for you as a Protoss player. But Ghosts, like, I haven't seen anyone do that in six months or so now, is it?
Unless you, until you watch me die to it.
Yeah, well, I saw it on your stream, but I was like, okay, this guy was like, you were like 10-0 against this dude, so I just assumed he was desperate. Okay, I didn't think we'd see it here.
The quarterfinals of DreamHack Leipzig. So sick.
Yeah.
I mean, Stargate.
The thing is, like, a lot of people don't realize, like, with, they changed it so that the Mobius reactor was built in Heart of the Swarm, so they start with a lot of energy, the Ghosts, and the Ghosts also got a movement speed buff in the Legacy of the Void Beta, so they're pretty quick. They're quite nimble on their feet.
And I love what Funka did there as well. He shows the Oracle. The Oracle has 0 energy, and then there's like multiple Ghosts that still have energy. You know, this Envision or Revelation, however it's called currently, is just not the same as Envision it was in Heart of the Swarm. Like the old Oracle would have been fine. You know, you activate Envision, it's there for like...
turn your Oracle into an Observer for the most part, but now you lost that ability. You have to use the Revelation, and you have to hit everything or you get wrecked. Yeah,
because like your Oracle only has a limited amount of energy as well, and you can hardly wait until you can drop another one of those Revelations, because that just takes forever. The second map is going to be played on Dusk Towers. Well, we said it, we think uThermal has a lot of flair, it's going to be an explosive series. We've expected a lot of things. Ghost Rush was absolutely not one of them, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, the Protoss players on the ladder for the next week.
Scout.
Yeah, build open Robo. Well, we are loaded into Dusk Towers, a much more standard sane map. In the bottom left, we have our Red Terran player representing Holland and ATCM. He is uThermal.
Good old AT Gaming. He's been with them for quite a while. It's very good to see. Seems to be quite happy with them. Met a couple guys from the management. Seems like a very cool team. On the right top side of Dusk Towers, we have a man that recently joined Team Millennium, a very strong team with a lot of good Protoss players, and he's one of them. It is ShoWTimE. It's probably a a little, I'm gonna always say rustled, you know, you have to be a little bit upset.
I don't think you can lose to that build without being rustled.
Yeah, because like you enter a best of 5, you do your research, like Todd said, he's been watching the VODs, and you have all these things going through your mind, you
It's
know.
like he didn't do this.
Exactly, like you think about all these possible scenarios, how this competitive best of 5 may or may not play out, but Ghost Barrage is just not one of those things that ever crossed his mind.
Yeah, it's just so interesting to see that kind of way that you can get inside somebody's head too, because now ShoWTimE has to be thinking about that for the rest of the series, like the proxy barracks play, but even then, just the absolute bonkers builds that uThermal is apparently willing to do.
I do think it's very cool to see some of those builds that, you know, we see every now and then on ladder, and then whenever you see someone lose to it, it's like, you know, that would never work in a real game.
Like in a real tournament,
Yeah.
it's like nobody who checks their base or anything is going to be able to die to this.
And then it's like quarterfinals, here we go, Ghost Rush, it's possible, man.
You'd think with uThermal being a streamer, that's just like a troll build. Someone like Donate is like, yo,
Yeah.
do a Ghost Rush, man. And then he like did it versus ShoWTimE and like a barcode. He's like, actually, this works.
Yeah, that's a good chance he got an offline donation. It's like, hey, $500, you go Ghost Rush game 1. He's like, oh, $500 pretty good.
Do it.
Let's do it. This makes it work. All right, so we'll see. What I do know is that uThermal also lost the strong one-base all-ins, the one that he brought out on the arena. But he even does it every now and then on maps like this, Dust Towers or Orbital. He just hates playing against Stargate with it. He does not want to play against Stargate, but if it's like a standard robo build, he's pretty confident. And I almost feel that this game number 1 forces ShoWTimE to pretty much always get a robo, and that maybe sets uThermal up in the later part of this best of 5 for another one of those strong one-base attacks.
Yep. And I love that in this game, he's understanding that this is one of the more difficult maps to try and be cheesy against a Protoss opponent. So a very normal follow-up, like he goes for the quick reactor, he's got his Solid Snake STV tucked into that natural expansion trying to hide. Looks like the Mothership Core will find it. But the factory follow-up is like gas, so we should see a starport. We saw him go for the Cyclones and the Liberators, and a lot of Marines, a lot of pressure. And by cutting that Reaper and getting that faster reactor, it gives him those Marines he needs to push out onto the map.
And this is very interesting because we see another Stargate go down for ShoWTimE. So ShoWTimE is showing us that he's not too confused, that he didn't just completely lost it after that game number 1. He's just going to go with whatever he wanted to do. Every single unit is extremely important for ShoWTimE. He can't lose this Adept. That's a very good reaction there, because if he would have lost it, it would have been extremely difficult to go up to 3 bases against those Marines and the Cyclones that we all know that uThermal loves to make and loves to march across the map with very early on.
Yep, and I'm very interested to see. He throws a scan, sees a Stargate. His engineering bay is already on the way. He's got the Cyclone coming out, constant Marine production, starport about to finish. So he could go for the medevac to supplement this. He could wait for the gas to get the Liberator. He's got a lot of options available because he knows once he builds a missile turret in each of his mineral lines, he really doesn't have to worry about that Oracle killing too much, and he can step freely out of the map and try to put pressure directly on the Protoss.
Liberator is going to be the follow-up as well. Do we have a second Cyclone on the way? Is it just one this time?
Just one Cyclone so far.
But not a single pylon yet on the low ground, correct? For just one. But one pylon shouldn't... What I do like, by the way, is that this pylon is a lot closer towards the ramp, so he needs high ground vision one way or the other.
I think about it this way, Kev. Even if he brings that Mothership Core down, that's going to give him an opportunity to move that Liberator in. And we have a Phoenix on the way too, but this pylon doesn't stop him from moving up this ramp, and that Nexus is exposed. He target lock-ons to that pylon, and he should be able to kill it. The Oracle's going to come in and focus down the Cyclone.
I think you should just go for it immediately. This is what we said yesterday, and that's exactly what ShoWTimE does. There are 4 or 5 adepts. Did miscontrol his units there a little bit, but he killed the Cyclone, and I think that's the most important pick-off for now, because there is not a second Cyclone here. Ooh, he did end up losing a lot of adepts, though. I think that could have gone a little bit better.
I think he tried to click all of his units onto that Cyclone.
Should have just used the
should have just
Oracle.
used the Oracle on the Cyclone and then allowed the adepts to fight head-to-head against the Marines, because I think they might have been able to win that fight in such low numbers.
Or at least trade pretty decently.
Yeah, at least get something for his money. But now the Phoenix are going to have a hard time dealing with that. There's the overcharge. So killing off the Marines because he's busy microing that Liberator. But I mean, he's not going to get this Nexus, is he? No.
There's very little DPS at the moment for ShoWTimE. I'm not sure what...
The pylon's here. Where's your Protoss God now?
Oh, no, he's actually going to lose the Nexus,
Wow,
Nate.
he pulled the probes and they do nothing.
Wow, another phenomenal start there for uThermal. Up 1-0 already in this series. Once again, a very explosive start to
How
it.
does he do it? I don't even...
Just marches across the map, Nate. He doesn't sit back.
You know, I bet Huck watches these games, or like someone tells him about this, and he's like, man, these fools just don't open up defensively. I don't know.
Oracle's not going to be able to do a whole lot on the other side of the map. This is actually very
freedom!
scary. Oh, there's a Liberate in the natural. There's nothing that's good against the Cyclone now. Where are the Phoenixes?
Okay, there's no pylons in the natural.
Oh my god, these Marines are going to be able to keep the Cyclone safe for now as well. This is a disaster for ShoWTimE. He's losing so much. Oh my god, this is almost game, Nate.
I think it is game, Roddy. He's got nothing. He's.
Well, they're probably watching. Why are a bunch of Marines and 2 Cyclones winning these games?
I don't even. I got nothing. I don't have an explanation for this. This is
oh. Wow. uThermal goes up 2-0 in barely, what is this, 12 minutes into this quarterfinal against ShoWTimE?
uThermal is basically telling everyone he plays against, he's like, don't put your pylons out in the like, every single pylon you have should be next to something that you care about, you know?
That's the face of a man that's not impressed so far.
I think the best thing about this style isn't even so much like how effective it is against normal builds, but just that he has done this he must do these builds so much that he knows, he's like, okay, if there's not a pylon here and they're playing this build, they cannot possibly have the units they need to defend against this. And
especially with the Stargate opening.
Yeah, it's honestly just so mind-blowing, because I thought that single Oracle into Phoenix was pretty reasonable, but I do feel like those adepts threw a couple of shots.
Should have traded with the Marines.
Yeah, I think the adepts at the very beginning should have traded with the Marines, because then he should have been able to save the 3rd base in time to start a pylon next to the Nexus. That would have helped.
And even if he doesn't do that, which is still bad, like then I do not like his position, but even if he wouldn't be able to save the Nexus, at least the Marine count is very, very low at that point,
and
which means that he's not going to lose 20.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. And it means that he's not going to lose 20 probes in the back of his own natural, because there's no way uThermal is going to make it into the main base if he has like 2-3 Marines remaining and the Cyclone got picked off by the Oracle.
It really seems like he's just, he said it in his interview yesterday, he likes to just cause that chaos. He's like, I would rather get into some weird position where I'm killing your stuff and you're killing mine, rather than just sit back and let you pick away at me.
But so far, nobody's killing his stuff, Nate. I've got a small problem with this analogy, because he has missile turrets on the other side of the map, and the Oracles are not picking up a single SCV, just nothing. Phoenixes have not picked up anything. And I love the small things as well, the focus fire, and like him running away the Cyclone rather than just accepting, okay, this Cyclone is going to die. No, he runs it away as far as he can, which forces these adepts to run. And the moment the units are running, yeah, like it's like small things in StarCraft 2, but the moment these adepts are running, they're not shooting, while these Marines are just wailing away. Like this is a very, very, very crucial, pivotal moment. I love the idea of ShoWTimE to just go for it, but I feel like he chases with the adepts, and that he shouldn't do. Just attack move here, attack move, and he's running. Look, he's running.
The adepts do absolutely nothing against the Marines for that whole entire time. He could have at least killed half those Marines, and then now he's got an Oracle with no energy. He has no adepts, and there's no pylons next to this Nexus. And yeah, Marines are still pretty good units in StarCraft 2. Just really, like when I watch that unfold, there's still a bit of elegance in the way that I think uThermal does it, that it causes ShoWTimE to not be, you know, focused enough to make the right move with those adepts, because he's also at the same time he's like, okay, I got to build more units. I have to warp in, which means I need to look away from where the army is fighting.
That's a tricky phase in the game for Protoss for sure, because you got to get ready for the follow-up as well. You're throwing down buildings. You want to make sure you're not supply blocked after losing 2 pylons already. Just stuff like that. Well, the next map is going to be played on Runes of Sarens. 3 match points for the Dutch Terran that we're currently looking at. And it's been so long, Nate, since we had a Dutch player make it into the semi-finals of DreamHack. I know Red did it once. I think Servant, the other Dutch Terran, in 2010, or maybe quarterfinal, semi-final, did it once. But this guy is incredibly close right now. He's representing AT Gaming. It is uThermal. I'm getting pumped, Nate. I'm so happy. It's so awesome to see the Dutchies do well.
I'm so blown away to see this style work like this consistently, you know. I mean, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. It's just really phenomenal play coming out of uThermal. And this guy, I mean, at this point, your Jimmies have to be rustled. I mean, in the Northeast, the Blue Protoss, he's ShoWTimE.
You know, if I'm ShoWTimE right now, right, let's look at it from the other side. If you're ShoWTimE, you should just, as hard as it is, forget about this. Like, forget about the position you're in. Forget about the fact you're playing a best of 5 and you're down 0-2. Just let that all just slip off you and just focus. And I think play defensive, really go for Blink. I actually don't even love Blink all that much on Runes of Ceres, even though there's a crazy amount of surface area to Blink into the main base. I still think it can be tricky as well because, you know, there's so many cliffs and stuff, which can be nice, but can also be working against you. So that's why I think a lot of Protoss love Stargates, because it's such a big map with, you know, a lot of cliffs, high ground, low ground, which allows you, like Oracles and Phoenixes, to be very effective. But I just feel against somebody like uThermal, you really want to just take control. And if one thing Blink Stalkers are very good at, it's taking control of the pace of a game, because you really determine it. You know, your opponent moves out before he's allowed to, you pick up units one by one. He tries to drop you, you can see it with observers, you snipe it with Blink Stalkers, or even Liberate, or even Cyclone. So I would love to see him play Blink this game, even though I don't think this is the best map for Blink Stalker openings.
I'd like to see him to survive past the 8-minute mark. that's like...
Yeah, but Blink is great for that.
The part of this whole phenomenon that is uThermal as the only Terran to make it this far is that the thing that sets him apart from all the other Terrans that played in this tournament is this super aggressive style. And you honestly, I feel like that's sort of like you kind of, you know, it's like old school Protoss it's all about figuring out that Protoss player that did that super aggressive build or did that one style. And once you figured it out, you're able to handle it pretty easily. But uThermal's in that phase where no one seems to be quite sure of how to properly shut down all of these pokings, all these aggressive plays he does.
But obviously his openings are good in the, as we like to call it, the current meta. There we do see the Twilight console go down, by the way, and I'm very happy to see that. The SCV spots it immediately. Great scout there for uThermal. He cancels it. Makes a Stargate now? Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure.
Well,
I wonder if that was the plan all along. Like sometimes people drop buildings on purpose to fake it, but I really don't think that he wanted to fake the Twilight. I think just after it got scouted, he's like, well, now I may as well just still make an Oracle, because he's probably not going to have missile turrets, right? Well, I don't think uThermal is going to fall for a Protoss trick like that. It's pretty old. But, you know, once again, I just think that uThermal style just really plays very strong into the current meta. Protoss players just take expanse without barely having any units, and they rely so much on Photon Overcharge that as soon as there's a unit that's very good against Photon Overcharge, like the Cyclone, they're suddenly like, hey, what are all these Marines and Cyclones doing over here? Like, I've got 2 Adepts and a Photon Overcharge.
You're supposed to stay in your base and complain about Adepts.
Yeah. It's like my Oracle's about to fly to the other side of the map. Defend, man.
uThermal has absolutely none of it. And on this map, too, we've already seen in that series versus Hearthstone, this is where he put him to bed with that just massive, massive push, getting the lock on. That's where we saw the, you know, a more adept Oracle mismanagement.
You know, like normally if you would see this, if you're coaching a Terran player, you'd be like, hey, what on earth are you doing with your Marines? Send your Marines back to your side of the map. You know, this is not the phase in the game for you to walk around with 5 unstimmed, combat shielded Marines. But uThermal just does it because he wants to see what's going on. Will this Oracle meet the Cyclone in the middle of the map? Probably it will not. And this time, because he spotted the Twilight console, there's no eBay nade, no missile turrets, so this Oracle should have a field day.
Yep, and he's also not following it up with a second Cyclone.
No, he's worried about Blink
tanks.
Stalkers, maybe even a Blink Stalker all-in, because this is a good map for Blink Stalker all-ins. And now ShoWTimE is going to be like, cool, your Cyclone is on this side of the map? Well, hello, here's my Oracle that should kill at least 5, 6, 7... well, there's a lot of Marines here, but still, you should be able to get 4 or 5 SCVs,
the Marines aren't in position, then you're damn right there, and the Oracle comes in, says, well met to these SCVs. 5 picked off immediately,
6.
going for 6, and he can continue to bounce around, try to be annoying, and suddenly uThermal's not in that perfect spot. He has the Oracle, excuse me, the Liberator coming out soon, but the Oracle finally gets itself some value for ShoWTimE.
Yep, 7 kills. Very, very well done here by ShoWTimE. Cool cancel on the Twilight console early on. Would love to ask him. Obviously, we can only ask him if he wins, because, you know, asking the loser is like, hey, man, game 3 was really cool. You canceled the Twilight.
So you totally wanted to do this, but then you didn't, and
then he would just tell me, you know, like, hey, shut up. I'm really not in the mood right now to talk about these games. But I'm not sure. It could be either way. We really can't look into the mind of a player. I don't think it was his intention to cancel, but since it got scouted, he's like, well, now I may as well cancel, and maybe my Stargate will do a lot better this time. And that's exactly how it played out.
Yep, good amount of Marines on the map for uThermal. This is, of course, a very wide open map as far as your main base goes. So brave to just keep that Cyclone out there. It's such an expensive unit.
And here come the Phoenixes, mate.
Yeah, this should be a pretty quick cleanup. But you know what? He's still distracting him, and he always seems to be able to do this to some extent.
Yeah, it seems like ShoWTimE sort of picked up on it, though. Like, he's like, no, I'm not falling for that. 2 Phoenixes will be able to kill Liberator, but it's still important that ShoWTimE picks up on this very quickly. You don't want to lose more than like 4 probes here. Only loses 1. We'll lose a little bit of mining time, but well done. Ooh, actually 1 Phoenix being here.
He doesn't microwave from the Adepts too quickly. And those Phoenix come in and going to get to work on this Liberator. And I love that he doesn't unsiege because he knows he can't get away, so he wants to stay there, make sure the probes come in at the last possible second.
Yep. Yeah, often you see Protoss players like, ah, cool, I send my 2 Phoenixes there, like I can send my probes back to the mineral patches.
I've had that experience quite a few times because as soon as they think they're about to kill it, they send the workers there and it's like, okay, just don't unsiege it, and you'll actually get 1 or 2 kills.
Yeah, and sometimes you get way more because like sometimes Liberator is actually harder to kill than you imagine. You're like, ah, 2 Phoenixes, they've got this. You look away and then suddenly you look back, it's like, why do I only have 8 probes on my mineral patches? And then you look at the replay, it's like, wow, actually I just lost 6 probes. I'm that bad. You know, this is amazing.
Yeah, they definitely tricky. You've seen a lot of people just trying to run those bad boys away, but the Oracle comes in for round 2. Not doing too much damage, delaying a supply depot a little bit, but uThermal doesn't find himself blocked too badly here. He's got his 3rd base planted, and I think this has been the absolute like linchpin for what makes this build with the way that he plays so good as he gets up, he disrupts things, and he gets that 3rd base so fast. That was the trade-off for not having the engineering bay early on, but to have that 3rd so quickly against Protoss, now there's a lot of pressure on ShoWTimE to get a lot of work done here, and he has a pretty big swell of adepts.
As long as there's no stim, I do have a very, very hard time imagining that uThermal is going to get good trades over here, though. Yes, he has tanks. Yes, he has bunkers. But I still feel if you don't have the bio units to really back it up, I think a lot of adepts will take a lot of damage. But there's a good chance uThermal ends up losing 15, 20 SCVs here again.
How many Phoenix does he have, too? Are we going to see him make a play? He could move
lift
in
up
and lift the tanks. That's exactly what I was thinking. That's a pretty common build to see on ladder, to be honest, these days. A lot of Protoss use that aggressive play to shut down the defensive structures or turrets, whatever it is that you might have.
Yep, that's very quick, you know, +1 as well on all these adepts, and you just go 3 base, 60 probes, or 66 in this case, and then you just try to trade. And even if you don't win the game here, most of the time the Protoss player will be able to kill a ridiculous amount of SCVs that will still put them in a very good position.
Yeah.
Stim is closing in though. It's not done yet, it's almost done. We're looking at 76 army supply against 75. I must say, I'm surprised it's that close, by the way, Nate.
Yeah, this is a really awkward spot to be in. I love that he put the Marines behind the mineral line.
Oh,
it looked like the Shadows couldn't go through there.
Oh, if only had Stim.
He has enough Phoenix to lift up all the Marines, though. He's going to completely clean up this army. The War Prism gets shut down here. He uses the medevac to move the tanks back into position, which is still really nice, but there's so many Phoenix. Gets the War Prism. Really nice grab there. uThermal absolutely had to kill that Prism, and that alone is going to set himself up so well. But the big adept, he's going to start to put the shades over to the 3rd base. Look at that wall.
There's still a lot of Marines there. There's a bunker as well, and ShoWTimE will disengage, and uThermal holds. And he didn't really lose any SCVs, Nate. He didn't take any economic damage whatsoever.
He
lost
this
Marines,
wall.
but that's it.
This base area is so wide open, but the way he uses the units behind the mineral patch and the bunker and the gas and that one supply depot, he cannot teleport his adepts completely on top of that army, and particularly the siege tanks. And with how many tanks there are, there's like 4, 5, 6, you're going to Shrek those adepts if you let them teleport even onto the Marines.
And let's not forget that if Stim was done 2 seconds quicker, there's a good chance he picks up that Prism immediately with all 4 adepts in it.
Yeah.
Like, he got very unfortunate there. In the end of the day, ShoWTimE is up to 4 bases. He does have a Templar Archives on the way. +2 has finished up as well, as Funka is showing us. So this is not bad for ShoWTimE, not by any means. It's just that we've seen a lot of Terran players take so much damage against very similar pushes, and uThermal just handled it with style and class and elegance.
I do believe that siege tanks are one of the best ways to play now in this early mid-game phase. You don't need them past the 3-4 base stand. I don't think they're like crucial for surviving, but ooh, ShoWTimE.
ShoWTimE basically saying, I'm still here. Adepts are like a bad horror movie, man.
Yeah, don't leave the house.
It's like the phone rings again. It's like, should I pick up or not?
That's the power of the adept, man. They get to choose whether or not you answer. The storm is coming close to finishing up. How many Templar are there on the map? Does he have
4
enough
or 5?
energy for storms? Yeah. Looks like it. So this could get ugly real fast if he gets caught out of position with those tanks still in the sky.
True, but we've seen it yesterday as well. It's important to see how ShoWTimE engage here. He doesn't have charge. He has adepts and he has blank stalkers, a couple of immortals. But without charge, it is pretty hard to fight against tanks. We saw ShoWTimE yesterday on Orbital. He was in a reasonable position, but he just took a very, very awkward engagement. And I guess it's safe to say that ShoWTimE is in a better position than ShoWTimE was in as well. Ooh. Charge is on the way, but it's not there yet. Oh my God, Stasis! No way!
It's all it takes, so it's just pure Marine in this point. He's only got one of these tanks not caught by that Stasis. Of course, course, he can't do any damage. He can't kill those tanks, but now there's nothing to help against the Adams, nothing to stop those Templar from getting right on top of the Marines, and he still has another 5 seconds before the tanks are used. Well, first storms are going to hit. He's splitting the Marines. The Phoenix are killing the Medivacs, and the tanks are thawed, but he's already lost so much. Can the Marines do it without the support of the tanks? They've been lifted up by the Phoenix. The rest of the storms clean him up, and ShoWTimE mops the floor with a phenomenal stasis trap on top of those tanks.
That is actually the best stasis that I have seen in one of the games that I have casted, at least. You know, like we've seen a couple of very good ones over the last few months, but in a game that I've casted, that is the best stasis ward that I've ever seen. That was ridiculous, Nate.
Yeah, of course.
So good.
And the best thing here is Funka's pointing out as well that the fleet bacon is done, which means we could see, if he were to try to switch into even still just building tanks or going into Liberators, he has access to go to Tempests as well, which are, you know, that's the Apex Predator, the Liberator.
Did you know that stasis was there? Because I didn't see it.
I saw it right before the fight.
Oh, that's so unbelievable.
It's happened to me before, actually. You just drop all the tanks. I think I played someone on Dusk Towers at it, and it's like all 6 tanks, and it's like, oh no.
I've never seen that before. That's sick.
Yeah. I love Stasis Ward. It's such a game-turning ability to add in there. And those DTs do get picked off. The Stalkers blink into the siege tanks.
How many storms? One storm, one big one, and all that bio? Yeah, that should be able to do it. That was not a great engagement, by the way, by ShoWTimE. He lost a lot of units before the rest arrived, but that one storm will clean up in the end. And ShoWTimE brings one to the scoreboard.
Game-winning Stasis Ward by ShoWTimE there. You know,
talking about a momentum shift, man. Like, that is so amazing. Like, you're kind of worried.
Have so many siege tanks, and with no charge, like you pointed out, and you only have those adepts that are very clumpy with a short range. Like, you just put yourself in a spot where those tanks can zone that whole army away. 6 siege tanks is nothing to scoff at in Terran versus Protoss here. And honestly, I feel like that's the #1 thing that Protoss players aren't doing right now, is employing Stasis Wards out of these Stargate openings, because they are so good. There is no reason not to use them if your Oracle can't kill SCVs anymore.
No, I see it sometimes on an arena, you know, where it's like very common. Like, it's so obvious that your opponent...
so many chokes and stuff.
Yeah, it's like, well, here's my natural, and now, you know, you're probably going to try to walk up. And then, like, I've dropped like maybe 1 or 2 stasis I was kind of proud of, but I've never dropped the stasis like that. That was amazing. Like, this picture perfect. Just drops all the tanks and they're all frozen. And that, of course, like normally with Adepts and Stalkers, it is a little bit tricky, especially if they're like around one of those monuments in the middle of the map where you have to walk around to the right side or the left side. It can be very awkward for a Protoss to engage. Well, none of the tanks are not firing for, I don't know how long, but quite some time. That just allows you to stand right on top of them.
It freezes all those units for something like around
45 to a minute?
Rough. It's like in real time, it's like roughly like 20, 25 seconds, somewhere in that ballpark. But you know, it's enough to say you only have Marines, there's no Marauders, I can move my Adepts in on top of your forces.
Yeah.
It's...
I mean, you don't even have to kill the rest of the army. It just allows you to stand on top of the tanks, and then suddenly tanks are really not all that beefy anymore.
It is so good in this position. Like, the tanks, they can't move, they can't be picked up, they can't attack, they can't take damage, sure, but that's when you move in and you force them back. He had other stasis boards as well. If he had tried to go the other direction, he would have gotten frozen too. And it's just so nice, because the Marines are good versus everything here except those Templar. The tanks are supposed to zone those out.
They got like 1 shot off and then they died. Stalker's picking them off. Phoenix is helping out as well. Just a beautiful combination of the Oracle and the Phoenix. I mean, that must feel so good. If I'm ShoWTimE right now, I would feel I'm on top of the world. I have completely forgot about that Ghost Rush in game #1. That never happened.
That was
this Stasis Ward happened, not the Ghost Rush.
That was an absolutely phenomenal game by ShoWTimE. Like I said, honestly, like I will give an infinite amount of praise to players that use Stasis Ward. It is so good. Half of you open up with Oracle Cheese or some aggression. His Oracle got a bunch of kills. He didn't throw it away, trying to be like, maybe I'll get 1 or 2 more. He sent it back. He built Stasis Wards.
But
it's insanely good.
Okay, but to play devil's advocate just a tiny bit, if uThermal wouldn't have scouted the Twilight Council and would have just gone for a regular scan and would have just actually knew what he was really up against and would have seen the Stargate, there's a good chance that Oracle doesn't get 8 kills, and there's a good chance we're looking at a different game. So obviously it all starts with a very smart move by ShoWTimE, but that's not something that you can rely on every single game. You know, your tech building getting scouted, canceling it, and surprising your opponent with something else.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree there. We're going to move on to Orbital Shipyard. This man still 1 map win away from advancing to the semifinals here at DreamHack. Give it up for uThermal. The man has brought out the aggressive builds. We get to see that he likes a little bit of that Marine tank still.
On the right top side of Orbital Shipyard, we're looking at the German Protoss representing Millennium. He was down 0-2, but he brought one back. Can he go for the full comeback? It is ShoWTimE. Can he go all the way? It's very, very difficult for anyone to win 3 maps in a row in this phase of the tournament, or even in the round of 16, in the round of 32.
Yeah.
It's just not easy. You know your opponents are good. And, you know, we heard even the Koreans say that, you know, winning 4 or 5 games in a row is very difficult. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be innovation. You can be someone else.
I think one of the most interesting things to think about in terms of like where the meta is, where the strategies are starting to fall in place is like this tank play kind of popped up. Not like tanks didn't really get too much of a boost in this matchup. It's not like they kill anything faster or take less damage, but the adept meta really makes tanks so much better because charged zealots were just such a huge problem, but so few players employ those in their builds. And I'm curious if we'll see him continue to utilize those. I know he's been looking at that fast reactor play, so I like that he parks the probe there. He's like, no, you have to build a Reaper or a Marine. Can't just start a reactor fast. You know, it's not going to work this time.
Do you know what the 5th map is if we go there? Do you expect it to be Arena or no Arena?
I do not believe we were given the maps, but it looks like it'll be Laralac. Wow,
okay.
wow, our observer is so good.
Thank you, Funko.
On top of things. Thank you, Funko. That scares me, though, because the last time I saw ShoWTimE play a Game 5 versus a Terran, Marine Lord was
Not
visibly rustled at his desk. He had like 2 bunkers, a full wall around his natural, which is hard to do on Arena, or excuse me, Laralac, and he went mass adepts. Like, there were maybe 40 or 50 on the field at once.
A sea of adepts. We'll see if this Reaper is going to be able to do something over here. Oh, that was a very quick overcharge there, by the way. I do love that, because sometimes, you know, if the Reaper just by a little bit oversteps its boundaries, you drop the Photon Overcharge, and it just takes 2 hits for Photon Overcharge to kill the Reaper. So you're able to get it very quickly, but uThermal not being greedy there, not going crazy for 1 probe kill and ending up losing the Reaper immediately.
This Reaper dance, just trying to be annoying. Keep the Adept at home.
Yeah.
Don't let it push across the map while he goes into that factory, and we see once again the Stargate.
Man, ShoWTimE really loves his Stargate openings. Like, I know it's popular in the current meta in PvT, and he's definitely not the only one, but to see somebody play Stargate basically 4 games in a row, I find pretty bizarre. That's not something I see every single day.
No, I mean, this is still something that I think is very normal in the meta, at least in the games that I play or the games that I've watched and tried to study. It's still a lot of people high up in Korean scene still do this play, but the Reaper seeing it would be really nice.
He doesn't yet, but he...
I don't think he saw it.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
okay, barely caught a glimpse.
Yeah.
His dying breath.
So you could basically click on it as well. You know, the good old trick. Click, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's bigger. It's a star. I mean, to be fair, it could only really be 2 things, either
Yeah,
a
it's
gateway
not a
or a
robo.
Stargate. Yeah, it's too big to be a Robo or a Twilight or any of that. So, and your opponent doesn't just build a late second gateway. randomly
That
for
would
no
be a
reason.
very unique build. So, and this time the eBay is already halfway done. uThermal obviously not going to fall for whatever he fell for in Runes of Ceres, no matter what he would have scouted this time. I do love this by ShoWTimE. He's already anticipating that early Marine move out. He's already anticipating, you know, a potential quick Cyclone over here. And it's very hard. If you don't have high ground vision, do you really want to scan? Do you want to scan twice to kill 2 pylons? What if there's another wave? You know, what if there are too many adepts, then you burn 2 scans? So I think what ShoWTimE is doing here is very good against what uThermal is trying to do.
Yep, this is an interesting setup.
It should be good.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 pylons should be able to do a lot of damage against this because he'd need to burn a scan just to have vision to keep killing it, but he's going to run his Marine straight up. He loses a Marine very quickly, and he's like, okay, can't do too much here just yet.
Only 1 Marine there, though, for a double Photon Overcharge. Stasis already being dropped, by the way. ShoWTimE just not even trying to kill SUVs. He just knows that that's probably not going to work against uThermal. It's kind of a cool little idea.
Yeah, I like where he's going with this because uThermal has been so quick on the gun to defend with the fast missile turrets and whatnot. So already trying to get early value out of this Oracle in a different way.
How long would it take for 2 Cyclones and 7 Marines to kill the rocks?
Oh man.
You can lock on the rocks, right? Can you lock on the rocks?
Yeah, the armor does not affect the Cyclone's ability. So over 14 seconds, it's 800 damage. So the Cyclones would kill it pretty quick, but the rocks, I think, are usually 2,000.
Yeah, 2,000 HP.
2,000 health. So, I mean, you could just look at it like that.
So with 2 locks, basically, and then Marines bursting away, do you think that would have been something he could have potentially
you
looked
could
at?
kill it pretty fast. I mean, at this point, it just comes down to, does he want to move his units back home in case Adepts try to shade by?
Yeah, now it's too late, but I think maybe if you would have gone for it immediately. But anyway, it's too late.
I haven't done the fast rock break push versus Protoss. I'm sorry on this map.
Might just be a thing one day, Nate.
Eh? Hey man, I do it if I open with my Cyclone.
Oh, the Cyclone does lock on the Oracle, but the Oracle barely manages to escape. But very close there, though. Here comes that. Does he see it? I mean,
No, he won't be able to land. The Stasis Ward will block it, so he'll need to use a scan to kill it. Otherwise, he can try to trigger it on its radius outside where the CC is.
oh, this one Marine is going to trigger it.
Yeah, that's good. All he needs to do is have it not where the CC needs to land. He does that, so yeah, very smart.
Actually, very well done by
uThermal. The model size in game for that Stasis Ward is pretty large, so it's pretty easy to see when it's cloaked anyway.
Hey, that's a pretty big loss there. I mean, we just kind of look at it. We're like, yeah, you know, we're kind of used to Oracles dying against Cyclones, but still losing your Oracle, getting one revelation off, seeing the orbital for a couple of seconds, and that being it, that's not very good. This is a lot better, though, for ShoWTimE. He shouldn't lose more than 2 probes, right? Yeah, I think he just lost a single probe there, killing 1 Liberator. Blink is almost done.
Yeah,
Blink +1 is almost done as well.
We finally got to see the Blink tech come out, and there's no medevacs to move these tanks just yet. He has a medevac on the way.
Oh, what a great scan. How does he do that, Nate? What a phenomenal scan there by uThermal.
I think if you're uThermal, your biggest fear is a big push like that, because the siege tanks don't have that mobility until the medevacs come out. The medevacs are what's going to allow you to move those tanks in and out of the Stalker range. Stalkers with Blink, yeah, they're mobile, but you can dodge those shots. I mean, how many times haven't we seen it with Marauders? With tanks, it's even more useful.
I do love all these tanks, though. Like, 1 or 2 tanks is not that scary. The moment there's 4 or 5 tanks, you got to be so careful. Like, do you want to go for, as we like to call it, I know it's kind of stupid, the YOLO blink, you know, where you're like, can I do this? Yeah. Well, you better kill all the tanks very quickly if you make a blink like that, because when there's 4 or 5 tanks wailing away at your Stalkers, you know, one moment 1 dies, and before you know it, 7 or 8 dies, and
I mean,
it pushes that.
It's been like 4 years since siege tanks were a big part of Terran vs. Protoss.
Yeah, I know.
Outside of MVP doing some weird stuff on the Neo Planet S, like Protoss just aren't used to playing against them. So Legacy of the Void's kind of brought it back, and I mean, there's a fair share of Protoss players that will like run into those tanks. They know that 1 or 2 aren't strong, but your army will actually still die, even if you're Protoss, very quickly, the siege tanks, if you just run into these entrenched positions.
You know, it's very funny because the very first DreamHack ever, the final between Nama and Mana, there was a lot of Marine tank. Like, Nama loved his tanks. He was all about the tanks against Protoss.
Yeah.
Up to a point where I just fell a little bit out of fashion because the Immortals in charge were a little too good.
Nama was always an interesting one in those tournaments as well. This really nice Adept drop comes inside of the natural expansion. The War Prism is still alive. The Adepts have killed a good chunk of these Marines. Now they're going to start to focus on the SCVs. War Prism still
Blink Stalkers over there. They're perhaps looking for something, but once again, you got to be so careful. If you want to blink here, you got to be damn sure.
He commits onto the tank, so he picks up 1 tank, loses a few Stalkers.
No, he got picked up, right? The tank got picked up, or was it a tank from the high ground?
Oh, hey, he might have saved it. I don't know, but I still feel like the biggest issue here was just trying to get that position. Really nice defense. Did he get? Yeah, he got the War Prism too.
Well, another single tank died, by the way. He picked up that tank. So this one Adept is actually doing some serious work. Oh, he's healing it up. Pick it up.
Well, that's one way to mitigate damage from Adepts early on. So all things said and done, 48 SCVs to 70 probes. 4th base is finishing for ShoWTimE as well.
The supplies right now, in my opinion, are incredibly deceiving. Like, this looks like a dead even game, right? Like, 98 supply against 75, Storm is on the way. I do not think that this is a good scenario for ShoWTimE at all. Yes, he has Storm, but he has an insane amount of Blink Stalkers. And Blink Stalkers are like, whether you have like 12 or 21 here, I really don't think it makes that much of a difference.
Yeah,
they don't do damage. Yeah, they really will not do damage. ShoWTimE needs to land some phenomenal storms, or he somehow needs to be able to get 2 or 3 Immortals on top of tanks. Otherwise, he's in a lot of trouble. Stalkers are not good against his army.
Yeah, this is the thing, Roddy. There's no Stasis Ward follows the drop on, and he actually gets Templar kill.
And Marines are running forward, Nate. That's one storm.
Just sends a little bit. He forces 1 storm out, almost kills the Templar, and all he needs to do is just leave 1 of those tanks siege and just inch him forward bit by bit.
I'm very surprised we see a fleet beacon right now, but I kind of feel like you have other things to worry about. Like, yes, Storm is good, but you need more than just Storm to kill all these tanks and all these Marines. Here come these tanks. This is going to be very hard to engage. Like, do you want to blink into this? Well, High Templar's coming from the high ground. A couple of Phoenixes over here as well.
Those are some pretty good storms he was able to get, but ShoWTimE has picked off some of these. Excuse me, ShoWTimE's cannons have been picked off. And uThermal's just going to keep pushing up into this position. This army is not capable of dealing with what uThermal's putting outside his base.
21 adepts is kind of promising, though. That is definitely something that's kind of tanky, kind of beefy. Is that enough? Well, maybe. Just the Stalkers definitely wasn't enough. But with 21 adepts, ShoWTimE is almost maxed out right now. He should have a couple of storms. I think he's thinking about it. He doesn't want to lose the fort base. He's going to let the storm.
I do like this Tempest, though. If being able to get there without losing this base, the Tempest is going to be a phenomenal way to push those tanks and medevacs back.
But can he get there without losing that base? That's my question.
Looks like he's going to give it up. He's moving his whole army back. The Marines are going to stim forward. He does not have the siege tanks close by here, so he can't quite push over to that third base yet.
Yeah, but it's nothing that he really has to worry about there. Like, what are Stalkers going to do? Blink on top of Marines?
I think it's really important that uThermal kills this Nexus. He has to kill this, realize what's happening with the Stargate, and get the hell out of there.
Yeah, and reduce the gas income. I think that's very important. Tempests are very scary and very annoying units for Terran to deal with right now. But obviously, you only have so much gas, and he needs High Templars too, because Tempests are also not extremely good against a bunch of Stim Marines.
Yeah, he throws a big Adept Shade forward, but there are just so many. There's 11 siege tanks, man.
What a beautiful setup here by uThermal. Here's that first Tempest.
Don't run it all the way out by itself.
It shoots at one Marine. It takes obviously 2 hits for a Tempest to kill one Marine. So the moment you have 2 Tempests, that's where things start being nice, because then every volley is like a dead unit.
Yeah, but he's got the medevacs too to help. Like, you really need to get a good core of like 6-7 Tempests, I feel, against Terran armies. And the thing is, he's not going Liberators anytime soon, or at least doesn't appear that he has that interest. So finally adding on an extra Stargate. He's taking the northwest fourth base.
The upgrades, by the way, are very important. It's 2-1 before ShoWTimE against just 1-0 for uThermal. That's something I haven't looked at for a while. These Marines are not as powerful as they could have been, but oh my god, all these tanks are doing so much damage!
He just has so many Marines! He was pushing over 70 before this fight. The Storm's absolutely nowhere to be seen, and this army would just completely mop up this Protoss force. You said it earlier, those Stalkers, they're just super flimsy.
Yeah, they just stand there. They don't really do anything, and now I'm really not sure what ShoWTimE is supposed to do. He wants to get more Tempests out. He needs 3-4 Tempests to start really picking away at those siege tanks, but uThermal is not going to let him get him there. The Demolishing Force is probably going to get picked off as well, and I think we're going to see our first Dutch player in the semifinals of DreamHack since Red did it, I think, in 2012, and I think that's super awesome.
Absolutely phenomenal play by uThermal to take the 3-1 victory over ShoWTimE with a very unique flavor of Terran that you don't see pretty much anybody else doing.
Wow, what a series, man. Like, he's going up against one of the hottest Protosses in Europe, and I know we often say that, but it's just true. ShoWTimE has been good. Apollo said it before, we started these games. Great performance at DreamHack Winter. Home Sturrick up, a solid top 8 quarterfinals, nothing wrong with that. And here he was quarterfinals again after taking out Marine Lord and Lil Bao, but uThermal is the one that is able to stop him. What a great performance by uThermal. This is awesome for Dutch StarCraft, man. Like, I think this is really cool. And for you, Nate, you got a Terran in the semifinals. Aren't you happy?
That's right. We still have a Terran alive here. And it's just so interesting to see that sort of anti-meta from the Terran, where he says, I don't want to try to play the normal defensive game. And normally, I think, like, as a Terran player myself, and I think a lot of other Terran players play that defensive style because you're always thinking, if I move out on the map, my Marines are going to get caught by Adepts, or they're going to get caught by an Oracle, or an Adept's going to slip by, and then all of a sudden everything's going to fall apart. But he just confidently, super confidently, every game he's like, yeah, I can move outside my base and not die, which takes a lot of balls to do right now in TVP. It's just so impressive.
And I think the most important thing is that he's always ready at home to deal with whatever his opponent wants to do. He always has the missile turrets ready. And also kind of look at it, right? Like, there was a game yesterday on Runes of Seraph. Like, maybe Adepts could have avoided those Marines and kill a bunch of SCVs that are exposed. Yeah, I guess that could happen. But then at the same time, maybe uThermal could even do more damage on the other side of the map with his Marines and Cyclones, because those Adepts are actually not there. Like, I don't really know. It was a very bizarre series. Obviously, Smix is going to ask him about game number 1 as well. Like, a Ghost Rush? Really? Like, that's so cool. And in this final game, this was really beautiful execution. He baited out so many storms, because look at all those Marines in the end when they go up north. If there are 6-7 storms there, this army melts, and there's really not that much he could do. Because once again, look at the upgrades, Nate.
Yeah, just absolutely phenomenal use of this style too. The Marine tank. The Marine tank is so good against Adept-based armies. They take so much splash, and yeah, you said it. Going for the Tempest, he didn't have the money for the Storms, especially once he lost the 4th base gas income. Just absolutely phenomenal control, especially using these micro-heavy compositions where you have to split those Marines. You have to drop those tanks in the perfect spots and keep scanning and keep moving around. And he did not flinch for a moment against ShoWTimE.
Yep, I loved it. I loved every single bit of this series, and we've got, you know, pretty much a perfect top 4 at DreamHack. We've got a Terran, we've got a Protoss, we got 2 Zergs. Obviously, one race has to be represented twice, unless that would have been a random player. So I think we've got an awesome top 4, and I believe uThermal's ready on the couch with Mix, and I can't wait to hear what our Dutch hero has to say about that quarterfinals.
Thank you very much, Rotterdam. You're absolutely correct. It looks like this year of Dutch boys, as you so termed yourself, is continuing as we have a victor here from Holland. So first of all, congratulations. It's absolutely amazing to see you make it to the top 4, especially because you said yesterday that you and Harston were talking a lot about how you guys both struggle to produce solid results in these offline events. And look at you now.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. I didn't expect to get this far for sure. Especially when I saw ShoWTimE, as I said yesterday in the interview, it was like, oh, it's gonna be rough. But
yeah, you said he was basically like your Achilles heel, and it always seems like his style counters yours and things like this.
Yeah.
So did that affect how you prepared your matches for today? Because obviously you had some tricks up your sleeve.
Well, to be honest, I played like almost exactly the same as yesterday, except for the Ghost build.
Yeah, all right.
And it was actually really good. I thought of that at the last moment, because I was looking at Prime Terraces, I'm like, what do I do on this map? Can I even win here? And I'm like, because I was planning to do the Ghost Rush on, it was some other deck, I can't remember. And then I was like, why don't I just do it here? And then I started off map 1 with a win, and I think he was really shaken after that, since map 2 was not that great by him.
Yeah, and it seemed like map 2, again, we talked about your Cyclone Marine style quite a bit yesterday. And, you know, you presented that again today. And obviously, ShoWTimE probably did his research. And yet, he still lost to it.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think it was? Do you think it was just simply that he was tilted after game 1? Do you think he just was, I don't know, did he get too complacent? What do you think it was that had him just lose there?
Well, I think it was either he underestimated it, because, as I said before, you have to be really YOLO, right? Because there were pylons at the turret, and I just, you know, yeah, they probably don't expect me to do that. And so it was either that or that he was shaken from game 1, because overall, his control was not the best either. Actually, it looked for a second as if he was killing my army.
Yeah.
When the Oracle came, and then he clicked everything on the Cyclone, and he just lost too many units, so...
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't his best game, but it might have been underestimation as well.
Throughout the series, he certainly adapted to your opener eventually, even with Stargate openers. But do you think Stargate opener is the right way to deal with that build, or?
Yeah. In general, it's the best. I think it's basically the best against anything.
Okay.
It holds every cheese. You can hold every push with it. Maybe he should have went for Phoenix instead of the Oracle.
Okay.
Because the Phoenix counter all aggression, because you just lift the Cyclone. Like, there's nothing more to it. And the Oracle is kind of, you know, just like flying after the Cyclone trying to catch it, but sometimes it doesn't work. Maybe it's better to go for 2 Phoenix first and then an Oracle or something like that. I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Well, I feel like throughout this series, there were 2 moments that were kind of like shocking. The first was the Ghost Rush, as you just mentioned. I feel like Twitter exploded, and I'm sure the ladder on NANE is going to be really interesting for Protoss everywhere. But then the next moment was definitely the Stasis Ward in Game 3. It was absolutely, I mean, amazing for ShoWTimE, but for you, not so much. So in that moment, were you kind of like, oh?
Yeah, I was really. I don't know what I was thinking. I was really scared for a second. Like, I thought it was going really well for me. I outpositioned him, like he went to the 4th. But I was going to the 3rd, and I landed my tanks, and they were all on the stage. I was like, oh, no way. But it was terrible. It was game losing basically, and it was. But I mean, it was just one map, so.
Yeah, I think we both said like it was the best Stasis Ward we've actually seen so far in Legacy of the Void.
For sure.
And but even after the Stasis Ward hit, you still did a really good job of dodging all the storms despite being in that position, but obviously it was a bit difficult in that game.
Yeah, well, the thing with the tanks is that they cannot really kill them because there's so many Marines. There's no way to get like to the tanks, but when they're all in stasis and they don't shoot anything, because you like, of course you can split, but if you split, your units don't do damage. So you need the tanks to focus fire the High Templar. So it was really just, I thought I was actually in a great position. I thought I was about to win that game. And then the stasis, and I was like, let's go game 4, I guess.
Well, clearly game 4 also worked out in your favor, as that was how you won ShoWTimE 3-1. So walk us through that final game, as that was also really action-packed.
Yeah, game 4, was really a comfortable game for me because that's the style I like to play. I mean, a lot of people have talked about my Marine Cyclone Liberator, but I actually really like the mid game with the Marines and tanks. That's how I win almost all my games. So that was the kind of game I wanted. And then he misread me as well. Like he went for Tempest. Well, I didn't even have any Liberators. So yeah, it was just it was a quite comfortable game for me, I think. And I'm really confident in those engagements. Like it was even supply, but it looked like I was going to win the engagement all along to me. So.
Now, yesterday you defeated ShoWTimE 3-0. It was another Protoss. It was your Dutch brother, obviously. And today you've defeated ShoWTimE 3-1, who you said yesterday yourself that is a tough opponent for you specifically. And now you're going to be facing PvT Drogo, and obviously he's a player that many people, you know, praise. That they say he's a really good player. Yeah. But personally, for you, how do you feel about that matchup?
It's kind of weird. I've kind of a weird like relationship, I guess, with Drogo. I used to always beat him, and lately I've lost every tournament I've played against him. And even in practice, I was losing against him. So I definitely have like a losing record going on now. But maybe this is the tournament where I can turn it around again.
And last but not least, I mean, we've already talked about how this is the best LAN result you've had. And now making it to the top 4, do you feel sort of like an additional pressure at all? Or are you just kind of going with that same, oh, I'm just a streamer mentality. I'm just going to have fun with this tournament?
Oh, that's true. I'm just a streamer.
Oh, like. God.
Let's not go down that path again.
Well, to be honest, I think I do have a bit of pressure since it would feel kind of like a shame to lose to Drogo because Drogo's like ShoWTimE and ShoWTimE, just like good Protosses, right? And it would feel kind of stupid to beat the first two and then lose at the third because they're just all kind of similar.
Well, do you feel like there's a disadvantage there at all? Because obviously, I'm sure Drogo is going to be looking at your series against both ShoWTimE and ShoWTimE.
There's definitely a disadvantage. I always tend to be very stylistic. Like, I don't have that many builds. So if he does his research, I will be in a disadvantage. But so far, it seems like I've been more relaxed than my opponent. They all seem to make stress mistakes. So maybe it'll happen again.
All right, and I'm sure you've seen the bracket and seen what players are left. So aside from PvT Drogo, when you look at the other players that are left, how do you feel about your chances of, you know, not only making it beyond the semifinals, but potentially maybe taking the tournament itself?
Well, I think TVZ should be my best matchup. Maybe TVT and TVZ are kind of similar. TVP is way worse for sure. But yeah, I think they're all kind of similar. To be honest, wait, Sarah lost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have Hydra, Violet, and Bly.
Yep.
So basically Hydra and Violet, I guess. No offense to Bly, of course.
Did you just say TVP is your worst matchup?
Yeah, it is.
You know that your win rate in TVP is your best win rate right now?
Yeah.
It's an 80% win rate.
It's weird.
But you still say it's your worst matchup.
Yeah, it is.
So as in, like, it feels the worst for you? Like, you don't like it, or?
Yeah, like, to be honest, I feel whenever I meet a Protoss, if they counter me well, then they should always win. So far, neither of them have managed to do it, but I think, like, against Drogo, it feels like even if he knows my style, I could lose 3-0 as well. I don't feel solid, I can't. If I were to play TVT, I would be like, I'd at least take a few maps for sure. But in TVP, I can't say that. Like, I feel like I could lose 3-0 to Drogo as well.
All right, well, Claris, do you have any last questions for our Dutch guy over here?
Best of luck all in all. I mean, the remaining Terran, Nathanias this way, we don't want to upset him too much.
Sorry, Terran.
I could see Nathanias casting your game, like watching everything you're doing. I'm sure he's taking notes for his next streaming session.
He wants you to win, but at the same time, he doesn't want to, so he hopefully gets little buffs here and there. So it's like...
Sorry, Nate. Sorry, Terrans out there.
All right, well, best of luck against your next match against PvT Drogo. Of course, that means we have one last quarterfinal series coming up. It will be Hydra versus Bly to see who will go up against Violet, and that will come up right after this break.